And we're back. There's been some developments since I last filmed the video. The dome has been delivered. It was kind of an interesting day getting all this stuff offloaded from the truck, but it's all good now. It's here. Everything looks to be in good condition, so super happy with that. Let me turn you guys around here because spring has sprung. The property just looks incredible right now. Even better than I could have imagined. This is my first spring here at the property. And just 2 weeks ago, these trees were just barely starting to bud. And now it's just solid green everywhere you look. It's almost dark in here now, and it's barely even spring. So over here is where I've started the layout for the foundation of the first dome. I'm building a octagon shaped pier and beam foundation. So the dome is basically a circle, and I wanted to limit the extra material that's sticking out from the corners of it. So the octagon was effectively the, kind of happy medium between a essentially impossible to build circular deck and a typical square one that'll have a bunch of extra material sticking out of the corners. It looks a little convoluted right now, but I'm starting to lay out these string lines here. And with those string lines, I'll be able to lay out the pier locations. So there's 13 piers in total. So for now, I'm just setting up these batter boards here with a string going across. And I'll set 4 sets of these up, kind of like a hashtag, like a pound sign, depending on how old you are. I'm using this Klein Tool 3-plane laser on a small tripod that I picked up on Amazon. Okay, it's been a while, 3 or 4 hours to be exact. I've laid out the foundation. Just want to give you guys a little bit of an update. Yeah, you can see kind of where the X's are. That's where a pier will be. And it goes all the way around the perimeter of the octagon. It might be a little confusing why I have these lines crossed in the middle, but let me show you the drawing to make it a little bit more clear. So those lines you see going across the middle are these. And the reason I did that was just to make it easier to square up. I could have done a big square on the outside and squared that up. But with the laser, I just squared up this small piece in the middle and extended it out and checked it with a laser out here. So where those X's are these points on the edges. Now this is what that looks like on the ground. It's a little bit more convoluted, but the points that are marked in orange, those are the actual drilled locations of the piers. And those stakes you see in that square pattern, that was the internal square that I used to square up the octagon. So like this string is perpendicular to this string using the laser. So I was able to take this string here and measure off of it to get this string out here. I hope that makes sense. I think it's pretty straightforward what I'm doing. The only complex part was figuring out the distance between here and here, or figuring that to be exactly the same as here and here, which really wasn't that complicated in the end, just a little bit of geometry like I said. But I measured it out, and it did end up being 8.5 foot as expected. And this doesn't have to be super accurate. These are just for the holes for now. So I'm going to come in and dig out these X's, about a 2 foot by 2 foot hole. And we'll lay this out again when I actually go to put the piers in and set their exact position. So this doesn't have to be that accurate. I'm trying to be as accurate as possible, but when I come in with a backhoe, it's just going to be, not a very accurate process. So there's no sense in overdoing it now. I'm going to try and preserve some of these batter boards. So like that batter board there, and at least one set from each angle, from each side, so that I can re-pull the layout the same way as I did originally and kind of just recreate it. So as long as I have two perpendicular lines, one going each direction, I can measure out the other ones just like I did the first time. And we should be able to get an exact position for the piers when we're actually ready to pour them. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense in my head, and I think it'll make more sense once I actually start drilling everything and you can see where the piers are going in. But I hope with that drawing that cleared it up a little bit. I don't know if this is a typical way to lay out an octagon. Can't really find much online about octagon foundations because it's a really atypical structure. But I think it'll be worth it in the end. Like I was saying earlier, I don't like how it looks when the dome goes on a square deck and there's those big empty corners coming out from the square. You know, it's like putting a circle on top of a square. There's going to be a bunch of extra area, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look planned. So the octagon is just the middle ground between, you know, trying to frame up a circle out of wood. It doesn't really work that well. It's possible, but not something I want to do. It's getting pretty late, but I want to just get a couple of these dug out with the backhoe while I'm here, just to make sure that it's going to work to dig a narrow enough hole. I have a 12-inch bucket on the backhoe. We'll see if that works. I might need to just rent an auger and drill these out by hand, but I'm trying to avoid it. I don't like using those augers. They tend to hurt when you use them. So take it easy on me, you professional operators. I'm really new to this type of machinery. Seems to be going fine. I'll check back in with you soon. It's getting pretty late here. I think I'm gonna call it for today. But I got 7 out of 13 holes dug, so pretty happy with the progress. I'll have to pick this up another day, but let me turn you around so I can show you. Pretty massive holes. So we're doing a 2x2 Bigfoot at the bottom, so it's basically a reverse pyramid. And then on top of that, we're going to set a 8-inch sonotube. So we're doing 13 of those for a 300 square foot building. In my opinion, it's pretty over-engineered. Honestly, the 2 foot deep is kind of arbitrary, but we got down to some pretty hard soil down there. It's mostly clay, which is the reason for the Bigfoot, to give us a little bit more distribution down there at the bottom of the hole. But yeah, I'll be back in a few days to wrap this up, and we should be pouring concrete here 2-3 weeks. I only come out here once a week really, so this week I had a couple of vacation days that I was able to make some extra progress, so I'll come back here on the weekend, hopefully wrap up these holes, and hopefully pour concrete 2-3 weeks from now. I'll pick up this video on Saturday when I'm back to show you guys wrapping up the holes. Probably do a little time lapse of digging the holes. I kind of skipped for that for the most part with these first ones. So I was a little bit embarrassed with my operating skills on the backhoe, but I've gotten better. So excited to show off. Yeah, I'll see you there.